6.5, we're going to look at the circumference diameter ratio in a circle. We're going to start with a definition. The distance around a polygon is called the perimeter. In a circle, which is not a polygon, the distance around is called the circumference. So again, the circumference is if we were to take a piece of string and line it up around the circle and then take that string and lay it out on a ruler and measure how far is that actual distance around a circle. It's called the circumference. So in class we're going to look at an investigation that will approximate the value of pi by measuring circular objects and calculating the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. And let's see how close we actually come to the value of pi. So here's the investigation we do in class. We'll be measuring, filling out the table, and then calculating the ratio for each object. It says calculate the average of your ratios of C over D, circumference over diameter. And when we do that, we find that this ratio is very close to 3.1415926 ... or pi. So we're going to use that to develop a formula for circumference. If C is the circumference and D is the diameter of a circle, then there's a number pi such that the circumference is the diameter times pi. And here is where that comes from. So again, we measure circumference divided by diameter, we get pi. And if we were to solve that equation for circumference, we would multiply each side by D to get rid of it. So if it's divided by D, we're going to multiply each side by D. And there's where the formula comes from. Circumference equals diameter times the pi, or pi times the diameter. Now, in terms of radius, if the diameter is 2r, then we can plug that in for D, and we have a new equation. Circumference is pi, 2 pi, or 2r, I should say, so 2r times pi. And usually when we write that equation out, we have circumference equals 2 pi r. And it doesn't matter when you're multiplying everything what order you write it out in. So here's two equations. Circumference is diameter times pi, or circumference is 2 pi r. We're going to use these two formulas to solve the following equations. It says leave your answer in terms of pi. And what that means is if we have pi in the answer, we're going to leave it pi and not multiply it by 3.14. We're going to get an exact answer, it's called. So the first one, if a circle has a diameter of 3 meters, what is the circumference? So here's our formula. Pick which one to use. Since this one has D diameter, we're going to use diameter times pi. I should write this neater. Circumference equals diameter times pi. And we know that the diameter is 3. So circumference equals 3 times pi, and it's in meters, so we'll leave it as 3 pi meters. Here's our answer. Maybe I should write out meters. And instead of multiplying 3 times 3.14, we're going to leave it as an exact answer, 3 pi. Let's try another one. If a circle has a circumference of 12 pi inches, what is the radius? So we have a radius. We're going to use the radius equation, 2 pi r. We're going to plug in what we know. We know that the circumference is 12 pi, so I'm going to plug that in for C, and that equals 2 pi r. Our goal here is to get r by itself. So to get rid of the 2 pi, we're going to divide each side by 2 pi. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and pi divided by pi is 1. So our answer is 6 equals the radius. So again, pick your equation, plug in what you know, and solve for what you don't know. The next one, if a circle has a circumference of 18 centimeters, what is the diameter? So again, this has diameter, so we'll use this equation. Circumference equals pi times the diameter, or diameter times pi. Plug in what you know. You know the circumference is 18, so we're going to plug that in. 18 equals diameter times pi. And to get diameter by itself, we have to divide each side by pi. So we'll do that. Divide each side by pi. And our answer, the diameter, is 18 over pi. And it would be in centimeters. And this one should be in inches. Okay, number 4. Find the approximate circumference of a bike wheel with a 26-inch diameter. All right, now this one says approximate and round, so this one will actually calculate. First of all, pick your equation. Circumference equals diameter times pi. We'll use the diameter one because we're given the diameter. Circumference equals 26 times pi. And this one, actually, use the pi button in your calculator, and you'll figure out the answer. I'll use these wavy lines to mean approximately. And round to the nearest tenth is one after the decimal place. So that would be 81.7 inches. So if we were to measure all the way around this bike wheel, it would measure 81.7 inches. Number 5, if a circle is inscribed in a square. So what that means is if you have a square, whoops, let's use our line tool here. Inscribed means on the inside and each point is on meeting or touching the square just once. Like an inscribed angle, but it's an inscribed circle. So there's our inscribed circle, and the square has a perimeter of 42 inches. What is the approximate circumference? So this one, what does this have to do with a square? Well, we know the perimeter of the square is 32 inches, and a square has 4 sides. So 32 divided by 4 is 8. Each of these is 8. And that would also give us the diameter of the circle. So if we have our circle, this would be 8 is the diameter. Okay, so we have this equation. Circumference equals diameter times pi, and the diameter is 8. Circumference is 8 pi. So type that in your calculator and round to the nearest tenth, and you should get about 25.1 inches. Your assignment is the next page of the worksheet with these problems listed, so try that, and we'll go over any questions tomorrow.